What's up, guys? We're back in the garage. My car is in, as you can see. We're going to get started on it. This is the first video, and I kind of wanted to film this to do a little bit of a history on the car, what's up with the car now for modifications, what work it needs done, and where we're going to go after that. I got my phone here with some notes, so you might see me look down at that. I'm going to try and get this as mostly one take. The jump cut thing it works alright for other stuff, but it's a little time consuming. So to get started, the history. Got this car here in Newfoundland. It was a Labrador car, I think. The history is a bit weird on it. I think it was a Labrador car though, because it was bought in Quebec, I guess. All the manuals are in French, and some of the documentation, because I got like a binder of service history with the car that was in French and stuff. So I got the car. It was in good shape, body-wise and stuff. The engine, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I don't have tenth of the knowledge I do now about these cars, and it needed a motor. I'm not sure if I actually needed a motor at the time. I didn't really know, but then only 2 months after, it definitely needed a motor. Ring lines were gone, and the turbo actually failed. So I had a guy locally help me out with it, because like I just said, I knew nothing about it. So a local guy, reputable guy, he built the engine. So at that point, it was stock when I got it, just an exhaust. And then we put forged pistons into it, because might as well. We used the same short block, same long block, the whole thing. And then we put a Bloch 20G on it. 20G, just XT, not the ball bearing one. And I ran that for a while. And yeah, I'm thinking about it now. So I ran that for a while, and then I just went through a couple more modifications. I'll probably get all the modifications later, but then I blew another motor. I put a hole right through the block, right through the coolant jacket. I just blew the sleeve out, and obviously it trashed the whole thing. So that short block, which was the original one, was gone. And then at that point I felt confident enough, and I probably should have did it first myself too, because it really wasn't as difficult as I was led to believe. But yeah, so second engine I did myself, and it was actually, which is what's in it now, two block halves from two different cars. The guy who originally built this engine, kind of like, he was playing with the idea, and he never got to work because it kind of needed to be line honed to be proper, and he just didn't bother it because it was just something he's fooling with. So I got it, and I hand sanded the bearings to clearance. You would have seen that stuff. I don't need to go into all the detail, because you've heard me talk a million times about all the work I did on this bottom end. If you want to see that, you can check it on my Instagram or those other videos from before this. So once that was done, that engine made like 40 kilometers, 40,000 kilometers, something like that, maybe 35,000. And through that life cycle, it upgraded turbos and stuff, and had some upgrades, and it was a decent amount of power, definitely over 400 wheel, definitely. The setup that's in the car now, which was running, the previous guy bought the setup off of, because I bought all the stuff used. He made like 460 something wheel, so I'd just say over 400 wheel, right? And that's a good power on a block that's pretty sketchy with crazy bearings and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of the history. That's kind of where it is now. You would have seen me fooling with it a bit in my first couple of YouTube videos of messing with the bearings and doing that stuff again. Didn't really work out, and think about it now, man, I really didn't clean the block well enough. Nowhere near well enough. You shouldn't really even use half the stuff I ever used, but that block, and if you listen to that stuff, that was only just for foolishness. That was just, you know, try and see, put the car back together, and maybe I get 10K out of it, whatever, because I had no money at the time, it wasn't working. I actually started working during that series. I forgot to mention, that rod bearing spun in that block, obviously. I got like 2 days out of it, because, you know, the job I did clearance in the bearings was horrible. I did it really fast. So it's kind of like, oh, there's no way it's going to work. So I'll just put it together, see what happens. I was only in for head gaskets, and that's basically it's my labor. Wasn't working, so I had time. A bit foolish. I would never do that again, because now I got other priorities, and cars are not my only thing to be working on. But that's how it sits now. So this is this series, and we're gonna do it fresh. Right next to, you can't see, but the camera's right next to the long block that I'm putting in it. So let me see what I got on my list here. Alright, so current mods. Let's start with the turbo here. It's a Bloch Dominator 3. It's a Garrett kind of hybrid with Bloch's housings on it. It's got a 3-inch inlet, and it's got the big exhaust housing, the Alpha 2. Bloch offers 2 exhaust housings. Next I wrote down fuel system, so it's got Deshworks 850 side feeds. Just nothing fancy. Deskworks 2-something pump, 250 liter per hour pump, whatever the standard one is. Yeah, nothing like that. No fuel pressure regulators, because it doesn't seem to be necessary for this power level. I haven't ran into any issues. My tuner never really asked for it or recommended. So, and I was all about the cheap route, obviously. So we'll go with that. But so let's go on to the exhaust. So it's just unequal length headers. GT Speed or GT Spec or something like that. They're like an off-brand from eBay. They were cracked up when I got them, when I welded them, and you'll see in these videos coming up. I'm going to re-weld them because they're real rough. So we'll see about that. It's a 3-bolt with a 3-bolt up pipe with the external wastegate mount. It's a 44 mil wastegate. I just bought a cheap one off eBay. I was told it was half decent, and it seems to be half decent to me. The quality is like good enough, right? It's only an exhaust piece. I have a couple of issues with it, we'll see. And if it is, I'll have to buy a real one, but that's no sweat. And then, yeah, so it's just 3-inch downpipe and a Blitz catback, normal stuff. I love this catback, by the way. It's my favorite exhaust I've ever heard on a Subaru. I'm not sure if it's just a bias, but I think it's not, because I really do like the aggressive tone that it gives. And these headers made it even more aggressive, and obviously a little bit louder. It's a bit crazy right now. It's basically straight pipe loud. But I really enjoy it, and I got an exhaust that came with other cars you've seen. I don't even think I'm going to put that on. It's a quieter exhaust, and it's probably a bit prettier, but I love the tone of this exhaust. I can't get rid of it. Alright, so what else we got? Internals, so I guess, well, I'll tell you quickly, this is just forged pistons in this motor. There's AFP rod bolts in it, just because when I bought some used rods off a guy, he just gave me the rod bolts with them. But in this new motor that's going into it, it's got Manley HB rods. I think I already gave you this quick rundown in the engine video. But forged rods, forged pistons. It's got STI cranks, that's all you need. Stock block, no sleeves, nothing like that. Actually, that block is bored. It was bored by a company in Alberta. I already told you guys about that. Head studs, just general motor build, Killer Bee stuff, you know. That engine got, well, I don't want to get too deep into it because you already heard it, but it's got headers on it and stuff. I'm going to get rid of all that. I got a Cobb bypass valve that I'm going to use just because I got it there. This engine actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a block off plate on the intercooler. So we'll get rid of that and run something sensible. Okay, so next let's get into what work we're going to do on it. Obviously, engine's going in. We're just going to put the long block in, bolt up all my stuff to it. I'm going to do a leak down test on that engine because it did have a misfire. You've heard me talk about that. Yeah, I want to diagnose that a little bit. We already did with him diagnose it, and we couldn't find anything wrong with the engine. He did compression tests, leak down tests over and over again, you know, probably 3 or 4 times. Well, definitely 3 times, I think. Couldn't find nothing. We took the heads off. He lapped the valves. You know, it doesn't really, I don't know if lapping the valves does anything, but you get to see the contact patch in the valves. He said it was fine. I mean, he's not an engine builder, so, but I was there with him, helped him with a good bit of it. So the internal's got to be good. So I'm thinking just some kind of issues with those injectors, possibly. There was a spark issue. The reason why we just put the engine back in the car and never like deep dive into it to find the exact problem is because we did find a problem. We found a coil pack wire that was like shredded. Like I just pulled on it and it came off. So like, oh well, we just did all that work and the only issue was a plug wire, which was our misfire issue. And it's a bit of a patch repair on it, so I'm excited now just to put that long block in, the mechanical long block in, and see if it's still misfires. Obviously it's mechanical, and if not, you know, it was something in this top piece, because none of that fits my car anyways. It's different between years. Okay, so the engine's going in. Obviously, I'm doing first here necessary work. So this is the stuff that got to get done for the car to be running. And if I get this done, then we can drive the car, and everything else is just gravy on top. So next in the next necessary is brakes. Obviously, I'm going to take just the calipers off the Targa car because they're a bit prettier, and these are a bit old. I think a couple of the boots are tore around the pistons. I'm not sure. I don't think they're seized up. They're like seized on, but that's more of like a pad on the rotor thing. I don't think the calipers are actually seized at all, because it's kind of normal for them to stick. They all stick if they sit for a little bit. Even if you sit for 2 weeks, I'm sure it's stuck again now, just being in here in the garage. So those calipers are fine. I'm going to replace them because I got them there. I'm going to put those rotors on this car because they're immaculate. I'm going to obviously keep those pads with them because they're matched to rotors, and they're like something decent. Hawk, he was he was doing racing events with them, so it's good enough for me. Well, hopefully, maybe they could be roasted, but I don't think they are. Bodywork, which is the biggest issue on this car, is bodywork. Everything else is going to be good once the engine goes in, but the body is pretty rough on it, so maybe I'll talk about that in a second because I got another thing here. But yeah, there's a couple little pieces of rust on the other side that's got to be fixed for it to be driven. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it's just cosmetic, looks like crap. And I got pieces there. I actually just got lucky. The two parts cars I had, and they're undamaged and perfect, the pieces that I need, so I just cut them out with a sawzall, and I just got a big chunk of it's scrap steel, just in perfect shape because it's obviously from the car. So I'm going to weld that in and just do a rattle can paint job, because the paint in this is couldn't care less, right? As long as it looks decent, as long as it doesn't look like you know, so bad a race event doesn't want you to participate because it looks like I'm driving a derby car, it's good for me. So now let's get into the optional work. Okay, so I guess I'll talk a bit more with the rust. Yeah, so it's a bit rusty on the wheel wells, and actually discovering it now, it looks like that has been previously touched because there's some Bondo on it. And these cars, these generation of cars, are famous for the rear wheel wells rusting. I mean, lots of cars are, but it happens on these two, and it's rusted. So I'm just going to cut that out and put that in. But then I got put down an optional work as extra rust removal, so just kind of clean it up, just clean up engine bay, take the water wheel and stuff and paint it, just, you know, just stuff to make it a little bit nicer. That's kind of like, yeah, that's obviously an extra thing, just if I want to make it a bit prettier down the road, if I plan on keeping this body for a while. Interior stuff, yeah, so just quickly back to it, what's on the go to interior. There's nothing in the interior, modification wise. It's just stock seats, like it's all stock. It's got a radio and some gauges. Oh yeah, I should mention there's meth in this car. I mean, kind of need meth around here. Our fuel is horrible. Yeah, so I got meth gauges and wideband, boost, oil pressure, you know, just the general stuff. Yeah, but I think I might, because I really do intend to keep this car as like a race car. Race car is a bit foolish of a term because there's not really much racing going on here. But that's kind of my plan, because I already got the double X for daily, and I'm not driving this in the wintertime no more because it just ruins the car. Might as well, you know, it might be rough, but there's no reason to keep destroying it, right? Because it'll just fall to pieces. Especially if we're going to do a bit of work and try and rehabilitate it, right? So I'm not going to drive it in the wintertime no more. So maybe I'll do some interior stripping just because I don't need back seats and stuff, and don't need all kinds of little tiny panels, and a cage. Cage always in my head was like something crazy, like obviously because it's race car stuff. But you look online, man, a half cage isn't that much money, and they're like a bolt-in cage, right? You could do a weld-in, but the bolt-in cages are probably good enough just for extra little bit of safety, just so what you see with that Tiger car doesn't happen to this car, right? In the event that you flipped it, you know, a half cage would have done a lot to keep that roof above their heads, and you know, he fractured his collarbone, but it could have been a big deal, spinal injury, whatever, right? And you know, you kind of need a half cage if you want to put in some racing seats and harnesses. I mean, you can't have seats and harnesses without at least a half cage. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, I'm focusing on everything else, money-wise and time-wise, for now. Okay, so extra optional work. This was most important in my head. Is optional work is suspension work. I was going to take like lots of arms and pieces off the Tiger car and put it onto this car, but then I was looking at it, and the suspension actually isn't that bad. The rubber bushings aren't like spread apart or nothing, and when the car was driving, it was driving fine, and I replaced some rear struts into it with some new stuff, and yeah, it rode well. Wasn't any off the top of my head, I can't remember any clunks and rattles that was bad from the suspension, like sway bar links and stuff that was desperate and need repair. But we got sway bar links from the Tiger car, so they'll be going on here. They're the Cartboy stronger ones. We got them, so I'll put them on. Yeah, so and suspension work. I also got I picked up a set of STI JDM pink lowering springs. They're 20 mil lower, something like that. As far as I can research, they're the same spring rate, so you don't get any stiffer. But they came with a couple struts just because this guy's, you know, nice fella, and he gave me, I think, I'm not sure if I got them for free or I gave him some little amount of money. So I got those, and yeah, I'll put those in, but it's optional, but it's quick to do, so I'm sure I'll end up getting that done. Yeah, that's probably the gist of the work, I mean, it's just what we got to get done. We got to get some of the rust, the bad rust gone. That's probably what I'll do first because I already kind of mucked with it a little bit. Brakes, easy stuff, and engine, easy stuff, right? The only issue we're going to run into is if that engine got a misfire and it's got to come apart. That's a real nuisance, but it's nothing we haven't done before, so we'll get it going. And the last thing, kind of why I didn't want to talk about the rust stuff until the end, probably should have planned this a little bit better, but body replacement, I got wrote down on my phone. Yeah, so just like I just said, this body's real rough, and I kind of had a quick ask around, just before I start all this work, if there's any bodies that I could swap into, and the gray car I had was probably equivalent to this car for rust. So that car, that body was mint and could have been swapped into, but it wasn't really gaining nothing because this body's close on, right? And I like the blue more than the gray, right? And that one's an 04, and that wasn't worth the effort, that car. But if I could get a clean one, a clean sedan, blah blah, I'd swap into it for sure. If I get one for like $1,000 or like $2,000 for like a real clean one, something from mainland Canada where they don't use salt on the roads, somewhere cold, or Labrador, Anything clean I'd pay a bit of money for, and I'd swap it, because it's not, we just took apart 2 cars, it's not that bad. A lot, it'd be a project for sure, but it'd be worth it, because then this would be like a nice car I'd keep for a while. And there's also, and I got a good buddy, actually, one of the co-drivers, the co-driver of the Targa car has a Factory 5, the 818 kit. That's pretty rocking. I haven't seen him in person yet because he's away for work for a little while. But when he comes back, I'm going to be going out and, the plan is to give him a bit of a hand with it, so that'd be cool just to see it, and it's probably going to spark my interest in one of them. I was just interested before. Matt Ferry, you probably know Matt Ferry if you're watching this, The Smoking Tire, did a video on it, and just fell in love with it. It's super cool. It's expensive. It's like, the guy who I know gave me like a good estimate number, because he buys it, so he knows the Canadian prices and the issues getting it in. And it's another thing is there's kind of an issue getting it into Canada. I believe he told me it's like it's got to be shipped in pieces because you can't really ship it in as a car. It's a kind of legality thing where it's a bit of a nuisance to get it in, but you can get it in. So that's just part of it if you want to do it. Yeah, but the cost is like what, $15,000 to $20,000 just to kind of get into it, just to get started. Obviously I wouldn't be doing that like immaculate, and that would be a project that would be worth doing over a long time. So it's not like a, you could get it, you could like, do a good paint job on it later, do some gorgeous interior stuff later. But, to get into it, it's probably like 20 grand, I'm thinking in my head, 25 grand. Either way, I don't have the money right now, so it's not getting done. That'll be down the road, and maybe we can keep this body going, because there's nothing really wrong with this body besides just some cosmetic stuff. It looks rough, but that doesn't matter to me. Yeah, that's just another option. Alright, so that's a little bit of an intro video, just a quick summary of this car and what's going on next. Just kind of get my head around it is the main thing. Just kind of sit here and think about what we're going to do, what we got to get started on. Yeah, I've had some crazy stuff going on in my life, man. I've been flat out. So we're getting back at it. Appreciate you guys watching this whole time, and some of the feedback you guys have given me. That's awesome. All the videos you've watched have been a little while ago, so this is a bit more recent, and now, I'm going to kind of get into a bit of a different flow. I got some gear coming, some photography gear, video gear, so that'll be nice. Maybe add a little more polish to these videos. But for now, thanks for watching again. I appreciate it. Check me out on the social medias at Curtis Walsh Media. Yeah, I'll see you next time.